Hi, everyone. I am Sunshine Jackson, and thank you so much for joining me for the Sunshine Sessions on YouTube. Well, today I just want to talk about a topic that I think needs a little bit of discussion and hopefully some feedback from you. The topic is, do black men know how to love? Now, before everyone starts shaking in their boots or coming for me in the comments, let me say this. This topic was a discussion in a class that I'm taking. The class is community health, and the instructor himself is a black male. So, what he did was he gave us an assignment, which included listening to a podcast that discussed this very topic. Okay. So on this podcast were four men: the host himself, who was married, a second man who was single but fresh out of a 7 year relationship, the third man who was married with a young child and one on the way, and a fourth man who lived in the Netherlands and who was also single. All black men. And it was interesting to hear this conversation, this discussion between four black men to get different perspectives on whether black men know how to love. I often feel like black men or men in general are simple, but I feel like men do have layers. You've heard um, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I think that's true, but I do again believe that as simple as men are, and I'm not saying simple in a way to belittle or demean, I'm just saying simple. But I feel like men have layers. So now, yes, personally, I feel that black men do know how to love. However, I feel like that sometimes black men need, or I should say, they lack the tools or the resources to show love effectively to their spouses, to their children, and even to themselves and to each other. I feel like because of past trauma or hurt, that a lot of black men can't pour into someone else's cup because they're a little bit empty, if that makes sense. Now, having said that, I don't want people to think that I'm what people would label a pick me or anything. Absolutely not. I am a womanist and I'm not a feminist. I'll give you the difference in my opinion. As a womanist, I feel like I support, I uplift, I champion women, but I'm able to do that without dismantling, disparaging, or disrespecting men because I love men and I need them, and I feel like women need men. Even if you're a woman who's not interested in having a love relationship with a man, I think men serve a purpose, and I think together we sometimes make things better. Okay? And I clarify the difference, and I don't want to go too far into this because this can be a topic for a later discussion. But I think with feminism, for me personally, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I think black women should be careful not to readily align themselves with feminism because the way I see it, just from my own perspective, is that feminism has championed the needs of white women, whereas I don't see this particular group showing up for the needs and the concerns of black women, women of color, or even trans women. So I think when I personally think of feminism, it's aligned with white women and that particular group who champions issues that tend to just concern or interest white women, and that when they reach out to black women and women of color, that it's for numbers, strictly for that when they need that. But again, I just wanted to clarify what I feel like the difference is personally. So sorry. If I'm stepping on anyone's toes or offending anyone, that's not the purpose here. I'm saying that to say why I feel men and their feelings are important as well, okay? Particularly black men, since those are the men in my community. Again, not a pick me situation, or I'm not wearing a cape. I'm just saying this was the topic. And I feel like I revert to a thought um, when I was speaking to a friend of mine, how sometimes black women are told that we want too much or we're expecting too much. And I don't think that's the case. I don't think we want too much. I think that we're expecting it from people who are not equipped to give it. And again, that's not to belittle men, that's just to point out that there are a lot of men who have not done the work so that they are able to love partners effectively. Okay? When we talk about past traumas, you often hear black men tell black women, stop treating the current man or the new man based on what the old man or the past man did to you, right? That's what we're told. I think that sentiment should apply to black men as well. I feel like you have to do the work. There was a student, a woman in class today, who said that she feels like black men have it rough because of the way that we as society view them and the way we treat them, and how we as a society need to change that vantage point, or that the way we view black men. I gave her pushback on that. And the pushback I gave was not for the sake of argument. I just wanted her to see a different perspective. That perspective being, when you mention society, society as a whole does not just consist of black people. So if you are waiting for non-black people to change the way that they view black men, you will be waiting forever. I don't think it falls on society. I feel like it falls on community, the black community. I'm very big on that. Having said that, I'm bigger on personal accountability. So what I was expressing to her was, despite or taking past trauma into consideration, yes, a lot of black men have been through trauma, but at what point do adult males take it upon themselves to seek the help that they need to gain the tools to be better men, better lovers, better husbands, better partners, better fathers? That's all I'm saying. So while I agree with her that yes, black men have it tough, we know this, I agree with that. However, I don't think it's just society's job to view them differently. Society views black women a certain way, but black women push on and keep going, okay? And I'm not even suggesting that black men don't. Again, this is the response that I was giving her, the pushback, because I just wanted her to see things from a different perspective. So again, let me be perfectly clear. Yes, I do feel like black men know how to love. I just feel like in a lot of cases, there could be some improvement on how they love. And a part of that is seeking the tools to help them do that and help them navigate through past traumas. Now, I will say this, because she mentioned that as black women, we could do a better job of helping black men through things. I agree in a sense. It's not our job to be the therapist for black men. But I will say that as black women in relationships with these men, those of you who are in relationships with black men or who even desire to be in them, I feel like we could do a better job. Again, if this doesn't apply to you, don't be offended. I'm simply speaking in general. If you're dating a black man or loving a black man, I think we can do a better job at creating an atmosphere where those men can be vulnerable and don't have to fear us throwing that vulnerability back into their face, if that makes sense. It was interesting to hear the male perspective on that on this particular podcast because one of the gentlemen said that it takes a lot for black men to be vulnerable. And I'm not suggesting that this is not the universal case for men in general, but this particular topic was black men because, we're talking about health and mental health and as it relates to, all aspects of love. Again, the instructor is black. So this particular podcast spoke about black men. One particular man said it's very difficult for black men to be vulnerable. And when they do that in a relationship, it means that they really, really love us. But once we kind of betray that vulnerability, if you will, as women, like throwing it back into their faces, it takes a lot um, for them to get to that point again, if they ever do. So basically, he was saying at that point, it's pretty much over. It's done. That aspect of the relationship. It's never going to be the same because we have now made that man feel like he can never be vulnerable with us again. So that was interesting to hear. So because he said that, that's his truth. So I have to take him at his word for that. So I feel like if that's actually a thing, if there are some women who are doing that in a relationship, I feel like we could be better at not doing that. And then maybe that can help the man that we're in the relationship with to be more vulnerable. And you notice I said the man that you're in a relationship with because I don't think it's the black woman's job to put on a cape and save every black man. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're in a relationship with one, um, ideally he would have already gotten the tools that he needs to be the best that he could be in that relationship. But we know that's just not the case all the time. So if you are in a relationship with a black man and he loves and trusts you enough to open up and be vulnerable, I think it'll be a good idea to handle that gingerly and to make him feel safe. Okay? Again, this is not a pick-me situation over here. I'm simply speaking my truth. And my truth is I heard, okay? I heard what was being said by those particular men on the podcast. And because I heard that from their perspective, I walked away with gained knowledge, okay, of how to kind of, I received what they were saying and I took them at their word, and that's what I was saying, that they were speaking their truths. Black men know how to love. Black men know how to love. I feel that, again, that sometimes they just don't possess what they feel is the safety, the security to express themselves freely, or the tools to always be able to do that. So I think, again, we could all be better at how we relate to one another. Again, black men, I'm sorry if you have experienced trauma as children, as adolescents, or even in relationships, but I do feel like at some point, it's going to be totally up to you as to whether or not you want to be better and whether or not you want to feel whole. And the way for you to do that is to maybe seek therapy or to speak someone that you can trust and be vulnerable with and share those things so you don't keep it bottled up. And I think it would also be a good idea for Black men to not treat the women in your lives or the women with whom you're having relations or relationships like enemies. Okay? If you have gotten to the point where you're comfortable enough to have physical relations with a woman, physical relations, I feel like at that point, you should be willing to open up and communicate with that person. Physical intimacy is a very, very uh, sacred thing. And I think if you've already gotten there, the communication should already be there before that even takes place. So if she's good enough for you to be physical with, I would think that she would be good enough for you to communicate with and share your feelings. So again, to answer the question, yes, 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 yes. I feel like Black men are capable of loving. I just feel like it's important to do the work so that you can um, pour into someone else's cup, but have your cup filled. And your cup needs to be full first before you can pour into someone else's. Yes, capable of loving, but it's important to do the work so that you can give the love that you are expecting in return. I'm Sunshine Jackson. I will see you next time. Share your thoughts in the comments, please. Like, share, and subscribe, and see you soon. Bye-bye.